Here is a 2024 Mercedes-Benz C300. This year, Mercedes has canned the coupe and the convertible. The coupe now is going to be on the new CLE, which we'll review later on. 3 trim options, which this is the pinnacle. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons and a problem that I have with the C300 with the comparable rivals. The headlamp assembly is going to get LED headlights and daytime runnings that go behind the grille, in which I like how they do the 3-point stars for everything in the interior of the enlarged grille. The lower splitter gets the gloss black elements because we have the AMG night package, which also adds it right here on the side inlet. Also blacking out all of the side window trim, the mirror cap, taking it into the back lower rear bumper, highlighting the gloss black elements around the dual exhaust outlets. House underneath this long hood is going to receive the 48-volt mild hybrid technology. It's a 2.0 liter inline 4 turbo producing 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 9G-tronic automatic transmission, achieving 26 mpgs for the city and 36 mpgs for the highway. So when you're thinking, I want that wide stance and I want it to look performance-oriented, you're not suffering in the mpgs. And this is an upgraded 19-inch multi-spoke AMG wheel. We have the dash cam, which is about $200, and if you go any store, you're going to spend about the same. So I like that everything is integrated in this. Plus we have all of the safety features, which is another $2 to $3 grand. So you'll have the adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, rear cross traffic alert, frontal collision with pedestrian detection, and blind spot monitoring. The pinnacle, what does that add? It's going to be more of the features in the interior of this vehicle, which pretty much makes this fully loaded. Comparing it to last year's trim, which I reviewed on the C43, you're almost at the same price, which is one of the big problems that I have, because optioning every feature to make it look this dynamic and this safe, you're not getting it with the performance, but you're spending nearly the same amount of money, in which Mercedes is quoting a 0 to 60 at 6.1 seconds, Audi is around 6.4 seconds, and BMW is under 6 seconds, making it the quickest, and yet it's the same power that's underneath it. This has more power than the Audi, and you would have to bump it up to an S5 Sportback in order to get more performance than this. And then when you go to that route, you're not really going to be comparing it against this. And the same thing with the BMW. If you go to an M340i, over 380 horsepower, so it's going to be night and day difference, and the price is going to escalate. But going back to that problem, you could option an M340i because that's going to start in the mid-60s. This is nearly 70 grand when you deck it out with all the features. So that's why it's a big problem for me, even though you're getting the styling elements, the side bulges out, and I do like the two-tone look with the gloss black elements, but just give me the AMG night package since we're not getting the coupe or the cabriolet this year. LED taillights and a trunk lip spoiler. I do like the designing to this a little bit more than the Beamer because it looks luxury and performance mixed, whereas when you go into BMW, the 330i is a little understated. I personally would stick into the M340i. That's going to be the sweet spot. The lower gets the dual exhaust outlets, front and rear parking sensors, and a 360-degree reverse camera because this is the pinnacle trim. Power trunk release going into 12.6 cubic feet. It is a wide opening. Bag holders start off in the front with a little storage nook here. Underneath the floor gets a storage area, plus you could fold that out and it will have a dividing tray here with the AMG night package. You also get the mats. Split fold the rear bench in the back. I like these little levers because it looks a lot more luxurious, and that's going to increase the cargo. We need to go inside, start up this Turbo 4 so you can hear that exhaust note. Power seat adjustment for the front, heated front seats, memory for the driver and passenger. Headroom and leg room. The C43 has a sufficient amount of room. It's more sporty. It is driver focused. You can kind of see it a little bit more so, and I'll put the camera here for that 11.9-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming, Bluetooth audio. We do have the dynamic modes also, which you can do Sport Plus, and you can configure the individual here to make it as sport derived as you like. Click onto the comfort. We get the 64 colors for the ambient lighting. And we also have the seat connects, which is similar to a massage seat. Gloss black elements are going to be found throughout. This does close up, so it makes it a little bit more seamless. You'll have the ambient lighting that's going to run around it, the wood inlays, two-tier dash setup with the contrast stitch. I like the gloss black that's inside the circular air vents, heads-up display that is carved out in front of the 12.3 digital gauge cluster that can go through an array of information for the driver, and you can change the dials with the touch-sensitive pads on this side. These touch-sensitive pads go into the infotainment screen here in the center. It's going to be more sport-derived, opens up, and you get two USB ports. Sliding that to see the wireless QI charger with two more USBs and the key fob for the C300. The cup holders can extend out, and you can move this completely out to give optimal storage for the front. And I like that because you don't have a pass-through and there's a lot of real estate that could be lost, so Mercedes makes it up right there. Flat bottom, 3-spoke steering wheel. We get the paddle shifts, gloss black touches on the stocks, and the door panel configures on the top part into the dash that wraps around. So it does have a nice effect with the ambient lighting that's going to surround the power seat adjustments, the memory, and the heated seats. It's going to be more sport derived in this area. You have the satin aluminum that brushes around the grab handle, one touch up and down for all the windows, and a large storage pocket with the beverage holder carved out, more ambient lighting in the top, auto dimming rear view mirror, and a power moonroof. And to open the moonroof, it's touch sensitive. For the back seats, it's going to be a little bit more tight. The leg space isn't that bad. You have storage behind both of the front seats. Air vents, get the gloss black elements, two USB ports, and a storage area in between with your own moonroof for the back seat. Armrest with a pin holder and cup holders. The door panel will have the same materials found in the front. It's a little bit more sporty because the opening is actually a little bit more tight. About the same size storage pocket that's found in the front, and trying to sit in the center, you have a huge lip right here. The rails are not pushed up enough, so you're going to be sharing some feet space. Butt and shoulder space will also be shared because it's not that wide of a vehicle, but headroom is actually not that bad for the size of this vehicle. 255 horsepower with 295 pound-feet of torque. Now they do offer an AMG C43, but it's not going to be the coupe, which is the sweet spot, and that has 402 horsepower. But the problem with that is it's still a little bit slower than the M340i. And that's a whole new engine variant. And dropping the coupe in the cabriolet for the C43 to me is a huge deal because I am a convertible guy, and I also like coupes too because two of them feel sporty. They're two different worlds. The drive in the C300 is going to be smooth. We have upgraded 19-inch wheels. It's not that wide of a vehicle, but the interior has a lot of space. The driver focus setup is good enough. It's not over the top in the sense that I feel like I'm pushing out the passenger, so I like how they have kept it a little bit less driver focus, but it's still pivoted more towards me than the passenger. Clearance is good. You're right around 5 inches. You do sit lower, which gives that sport feel. Going into the Pinnacle, you're going to get the navigation, the 360-degree camera. It's just a trim that I would option. And to give her a little go, it's still quick. The steering is light. You have a little exhaust that filters in. Overall, it's just a comfortable vehicle to drive on a long journey. Now, it's going to take me to some pros and cons. Starting with the pros is it's still a luxury sedan, but it has sports to back it. When you're at this price point though, it's a con for me because I would option the C43, so I'd get that 402 horsepower and get more performance, but then I'm not getting all the features that I'll get here. This year, you do get a standard QI wireless charger, so that is something that kind of helps making it a little bit more sweet. Another pro is the 48 volt mild hybrid technology. When Mercedes implemented this, Volvo has been trying to make it as smooth, but Mercedes is by far the most smooth, meaning when you come to a stoplight, with this car, you're not gonna notice that the engine is off because you can't really hear the exhaust that much. When it turns on, you don't feel any jerks. It's seamless. So the engine mounting and the sound deadening that's underneath the hood, they just cleaned it up a lot more so than any of them. And just look at it right now. It's getting ready to go. Hardly any bump. When it turns on, you didn't hear anything. It still sounds quiet. That's why it's the best with this. The big problem that I have is, like I was saying, on the exterior. When you start featuring this thing up, you're nearly $20,000 in upgrades, in which it puts it in a different class variant, because now you're more than a BMW M340i or going into an S5 Sportback, in which both two of those are gonna have a lot more power than this, and you can nearly option, or you're right at the price of optioning, an AMG C43. So for me, I would buy this in the pre-owned lot because it is awesome and it's hard to not have these features once you've been in the vehicle with them. Now let's see what this Turbo 4 has. Has the fun to drive. Not a perfect 50-50 weight distribution, but it's close enough. And even with this weather conditions, it stayed more or less planted. So it shows you right there that dynamically, it's pretty correct. It doesn't feel over the top either for an everyday sports sedan. So when you're considering, okay, BMW, Audi, should I go Genesis, should I go Volvo? It's smooth. The seats, they're gonna be bolstered a little bit more so the cushioning isn't as plush as, I would say, an E-Class, but it's not quite as performance as a BMW. Those seats are going to be a little bit more firm. You're gonna feel a lot more of the imperfections in the road, especially if you upgrade the wheels or do anything at all with the vehicle, meaning you throw on all the features that you can get with this. If you go M Sport, the suspension's gonna feel a lot more imperfections in the road. For Audi, it is pretty tamed, but the interior is not as elegant as this. It's a little bit more old because of the way the infotainment screen comes out. So I like this as an example when I'm looking to get a sports sedan, get my feet wet in the brand. As for Cadillac, it's going to be a little bit more older inside. You can obviously get more power variants in all of these vehicles. Genesis does a good job giving you that luxury feel. It's not going to be as quiet as this though, and it's not going to be as comfortable either. And to check the turn radius, look at this thing. It's basically a lane. So it is really good with that. You're not going to curb the wheels. You're going to bank around 2.5 to 3 RPMs for it to be motivated, but it can get in and out pretty quick. And I like how tight the geometry is for the turn radius, because that makes it a lot more fun when you are taking some bends in the road, or you're running late for work, taking somebody to practice. You can still do that. Fitting a family of 5 is going to be a little bit tight, but it does have a good cargo capacity, and it is wide in the interior, so you're not lacking there, nor are you lacking with storage nooks that are in the door panels. And even here in the center, you can take the cup holders out and get even more storage capacity. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Mercedes-Benz of Clearwater for giving us this 2024 Mercedes-Benz C300 for our car review.